Okay, I'm nervous. I'm really nervous. My heart is beating really fast. Hello, so I just wanted to put out that this video will contain some graphic details and descriptions that may be triggering, especially if you've been through any kind of abuse or assault. So I just wanted to let you guys know before you continue watching. This video is not going to be one of my fun videos. I'm going to try my best not to cry. Actually, I should probably get the tissue. Hold on. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and address this topic. So I wanted to do it on my time and my terms, which is kind of like why I'm making this video. I've been forced a little bit though. Um, I don't know, maybe it was my fault. Actually, no, I'm not going to blame myself for this. So there's this poly couple going around, right? In San Diego. They call themselves San Diego royalty. There's a certain guy who is the ringleader of that situation. His name is, I don't even really want to say his name. He who must not be named. But I will hashtag it. You guys know. If you Google San Diego royalty, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. So I saw a couple of videos. Okay, I've been actually trying to avoid the topic for a while, but it's like they're blowing up all over social media. Even though I blocked him on everything, I've blocked him on Instagram, TikTok. I think he even had a backup account or something on TikTok that popped up because his number is in my phone, even though it's blocked. I save numbers so I can in my phone so I can still block them. So my phone picked it up. Like TikTok would be like, "Oh, this user's in your phone. Boom, here's their page." Had to block his whatever page of his popped up. So it has been really hard for me to deal with when somebody does something to you like what this guy did to me. You don't want to keep seeing his face everywhere, right? So, fuck it. I'm gonna say his name, whatever. His name. Um, I met him when I first moved to San Diego. I'm all over the place. It's because this is hard for me. I'm posting this video because I have gotten notifications from multiple friends of mine, friends who I talk to on a regular who know the details of the story, who've known it since from start to finish, and friends of mine who have no idea about the story, but they were concerned because there was a TikTok live and people were talking about how this guy sexually assaulted me. And when my friend told me, the one that does know the story, she said she didn't see my name, but they were talking about a girl that he sexually assaulted and they led to him getting kicked out or something along that topic. And she knew it was me. So my friend reached out to me and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know this is going on, only because it's your story being told. And I just want you to be aware." So I said, okay. That gave me a little bit of anxiety, but I let it go, whatever. I was like, they didn't say my name, whatever. Then my other friend reaches out to me and she sends me a screenshot. Now, she hasn't spoken to me in years, so she has no idea. But she was like, "Hey, I just wanted to reach out because I'm worried about you. There's this poly couple, they're really popular. And your name kept being brought up in the comments and kept saying that he sexually assaulted you." And they sent me a screenshot. It's my full name. Sexually assaulted Enetimi Abea. My heart immediately dropped to my stomach because I have not been able to fully process the whole thing. I've been trying. I've gone to some therapy, but my therapist, I liked her. She was a nice lady, but I don't think it was the kind of therapy that I needed. So I have gotten some therapy, but it was kind of like all I did was talk to her about it, and it was actually my first time talking about everything in detail because the only thing I ever told people about was how he recorded a video of me without my permission. But what was weighing heavily on me was what happened prior to that video being recorded, and also the state I was in when he recorded that video of me. So basically, I met him in 2017, and when I first got orders to San Diego, I was like, what's out here? So I had a Tinder and a Bumble account. I believe I matched with him on Tinder, and he seemed cool. He was athletic. I like athletic guys. Um, and well, in his pictures, he looked that way. Like he just seemed cool. He was like pretty like upbeat personality when I met him or when we talked. Um, and so I was like, you know what? I guess I can meet him in person. When I met him in person, even though we talked for a while we were eating, I felt like he was very like extra and very he came off very arrogant. And then even though it was like our first time going out, I had to pay for the meal. And I didn't like that. I'm like, I had to pay? And then like he told me some crazy story about how he got a divorce, that he was married but he got a divorce, and then some story about how he got in trouble at his command, or they were trying to say he was trying to attack a girl, but he basically tried to say the girl was like over exaggerating or something. All he did was argue with her, but they made it seem like, I don't know. He didn't tell me the full story. I found out more about that story later on, years later. But anyways, went on that date, and I was just like, his pants were too tight, and he didn't pay for the food. So I'm like, nah. So even though he said I got you next time, he wanted to hang out with me again, but I was like, nope. After that, I never spoke to him. I went on deployment, maybe like weeks after I met him. While I was on deployment, he would write me on Instagram. He would send me text messages. He would send me pictures of himself. Like I didn't know what he looked like already. But I just wasn't paying him no mind because I just didn't like how he like did the whole. It was just really weird how I ended up paying. It's like the reason he kept talking and talking was because he wanted to. It was basically playing like who's gonna pull their wallet out first type of game, and I just didn't like that. That just didn't really turn me on. So I just ignored him. I think for years, and then eventually we ran into each other again in 2020. And around the time we ran into each other, I just got out of a really, really abusive relationship. Like the guy pretty much strangled me and tried to kill me. So you can imagine what kind of broken mental state I was in. So around that time of my life, I'm just trying to like get over that situation. Like I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about anything. I just want to enjoy myself, have a good time. I don't want to keep crying in my room. I don't want, none of that. So that's the stage I was going through in life. So it was a pandemic, but I was outside. Okay, I was meeting dudes. I was going to house parties. I was mingling, having a good time. Um, and I went to this one rooftop party at some apartment complex, and I ran into him again, and he said hi to me, and like he was talking, and so I invited him to my birthday party because I think it was coming up like right after that. He said he'll show up. And this time I felt like he came at me. He approached me like a lot more humbly, like he wasn't like all like arrogant like the last time. And so I was like, oh, maybe he grew up. So I invited him to my birthday. He didn't show up, but he's like, I was working, but I can make it up to you. So, um, long story short, he took me out to eat. He paid for everything. We had a good time. We drank some wine, all of that. It was cool. So I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll give him a chance this time. Maybe I brushed him off too quickly. So we started hanging out a lot more. We started spending a lot more time. Um, but I noticed that he started playing these mind games with me. And I noticed that, like, it was one of those, I'm going to act like I want to be in a relationship with you, but then I'm going to turn around and be like, what? We're not in a relationship. You know, it was like that kind of weird thing going on. So I'm like, okay, you're playing mind games with me. And then, like, he'll pick fights with me for, like, the dumbest reasons. And then he'll be like, well, what do you bring to the table? You know, that weird Kevin Samuels type of stuff. And I didn't really like that too much. So it just got really toxic. The mind games he was playing, like saying I didn't bring anything to the table, getting mad at me because he said I ate his last meal prep that he offered me to eat, and or telling me like, hey, you know, come over, and then I drive all the way from El Cajon to downtown San Diego, and this dude doesn't answer his door. It was just like a lot of weird stuff going on. Then there was one time even his ex-girlfriend, or he said that was his ex. I was at his house. I spent the whole weekend pretty much with him. And this girl came downstairs to drop something off because he said they used to live together. He was gone for 3 hours. So because supposedly they were talking. 3 hours gone while I'm upstairs by myself in his place. So after that, I was just like, it was just a lot of like red flags that I felt like I was avoiding because, you know, sometimes he would be really sweet and really nice and talk about us having a future together. But then like he'll turn around and do some crazy stuff like that. So I didn't, besides that ex-girlfriend situation, I didn't really see or know if he was talking to other people, but I could only assume. Um, so, you know, I've talked to other guys too, because like we're not official. But I wasn't, I don't know. I just got to a point where I felt like this isn't going anywhere. Mainly that what do you bring to the table conversation was it for me. So I got to a point where I realized it wasn't going anywhere. Um, and I was kind of just gonna just let it fall off as it does because he was doing the same, like not calling me stuff, or like going days without talking to me, but then like will act like stuff is cool again and then disappear. It was just a bunch of up and down toxic stuff. And so I just decided like, yeah, I'm just not gonna deal with him like that anymore. So one day, like literally the day after I made that decision, I didn't necessarily tell him that that's how I felt, but I did tell him like, hey, I just feel like, you know, you don't treat me like a certain way or whatever. You're just not like that supportive towards me. And so that was the last conversation we had. So later on that night, I saw a notification, and it said tagged you in a Instagram story. So I'm like, tag me in the story. I'm like, why would he do that? So I go look, and there's nothing in the story. So I'm like, okay, I don't see anything in the story. So I just brush it off. So then the next day he texts me or whatever, and I was just like, hey, it said you tagged me in the story last night. What was it? He's like, oh, it was nothing. So I was just like, okay, that's weird. But he's always weird and like really like, I don't want to say mysterious, but he always hops around, never directly answers stuff. So I'll just let it go because I'm like, whatever. I already wasn't even trying to deal with him like that anyway. So I just left it alone. But then later on, I saw it again. Tagged you in the story. But this time I was awake. So I immediately clicked on it. And when I did, I saw, to my horror, a video of me. I'm trying not to cry, but I saw a video of me. I was completely naked. I was in his bathroom. And I was on the floor. I was balled up on the floor, naked, like in the fetal position. And I was really shocked. I was really shocked. I didn't understand. Like I was trying to wrap my head around this. Because that video, I didn't even have that hairstyle anymore. I had a new hairstyle. That happened like some time before that, like maybe a month prior to when I was looking at it. So I would have never even have known that he recorded that video of me if I didn't see that story post. So I immediately was like, what the fuck? You know, I was going crazy. But the first thing I did, because I've already been through so much, I've already been through so much abuse. I've already been through people sexually assaulting me and all kinds of stuff. And they get away with it, even when I reported it. Even when I reported to the police. They get away with it. They they denied my restraining orders. All kinds of stuff has happened. But I always try to speak up. But it doesn't always work out in your favor. Because people just don't give a shit. So I was like, no, not today. So I immediately screen recorded, even though I was angry. I immediately snapped into the motion, like, screen record this shit right now, because this is evidence, because this is not about to happen again. So I screen recorded it, and I'm crying, and I sent it to my best friend, my childhood best friend, Lauren. I sent it to her, and I was like, girl, this dude just posted this. I don't know what to do. So, you know, and I sent it to one of my other friends too. I was like, what should I do? And they were immediately like, girl, you need to report his ass immediately. This is revenge porn. You need to report him. And I was just so upset. Like, I just couldn't believe this. And so at this point, someone's writing me from his account, and they're saying they're his ex-girlfriend. And that she's like, yeah, she's been sleeping with me and you and this other girl. Because there was also another girl. So one story was me, balled up in the floor in pain. And the story caption for me was, I realigned your spine like you asked me to. You know, that was something I said to him before. Like, everybody that knows me know I'm a jokester. I joke a lot. And I have wrote him before and say, and I was like, when are you going to realign my spine? Obviously, realign my spine. Obviously, it was a sexual innuendo. We did have a sexual relationship. We weren't just like going on dates. We were also having sex. So I was like, that's so evil though, because of the condition I was in that video. And I'll get to that part. So the girl is now writing me, saying that he's been sleeping with me. And the girl who was in the next story, she was performing. I'm not going to say her name. It's kind of like we trauma bonded because like we were both posted and we were both tagged. So I just couldn't believe it. So his ex-girlfriend, mind you, not the one in the other video, she's writing me. I don't even remember her name. I tried to get so much stuff about this, but it keeps coming up. It happened in 2020, and 2022, I'm seeing videos everywhere. I'm seeing this man's face. 2023, I'm getting phone calls and messages because of TikTok. And so, the girl basically said like he's been sleeping with me, you, and that girl, and all this other stuff, and I'm putting him out. And so I'm like, at the same time that she's writing me, she's texting me, like, don't respond to her, don't respond to her. She hacked into my Instagram. She came over and got my he said she got an iPad. I'm like, well, how did she get your iPad? He was like, because I'm also seeing her too. So that's when he finally admits that he's also seeing her. And so then he was like, she got my iPad and she hacked into it, and my messages, and she could see that I was talking to you. Fuck all of that. Forget all of that. Why is there a video of me? Why is there a video of me? She didn't record the video. She wasn't in the room that night. So even if she did post it, you recorded me. So you're the culprit. So that night that he recorded me, we had sex as usual. We were actually outside on the balcony. We had sex on the balcony. And he came in me. And it really triggered me a lot because I have a history of sexual assault. And even that ex-boyfriend of mine prior to him, he would do that on purpose, even though I would tell him, please don't do that. It really triggers me. That boyfriend would do that to me. So when she did that to me, not only was I triggered, I was also disgusted. And also, we were having unprotected sex. I know people are going to like judge for that, but he was the only person I was seeing at that time. But I was also like, I don't want to get pregnant. So why would you do that? Like, why didn't you pull out? So
Yes, y'all, I know I should have used protection. I understand that part now, so please don't chew my head off.
I got on him about that. Like, why didn't you pull out? Like, that's not cool. Like, don't do that. And he was kind of like, whoa. And then I also told him, like, part of the reason why I don't like that is also, besides not wanting to get pregnant, I don't want my pH balance thrown off. And also, I told him about what happened in my prior situation and why it really triggers me. And he apologized and he said sorry, that he didn't know all of that. But then later on that night, he woke me up and we started having sex again. And it started off consensual. And when I reported him for the video, but I didn't report him for this part because it took me a while to wrap my head around what really happened. So we were having sex, and then all of a sudden he started going like really, really hard. Like he started going hard. Like I can't even explain to you like how hard he was going. And when we were done, I caught this really bad cramp, like this really bad cramp, really really bad cramp. But it was because he was going so hard. He was going so hard, like it just was unnecessarily hard at the end, like it. And I caught this bad cramp, and I got up and I went to the bathroom because I didn't know what to do with my body. I felt like I was gonna throw up. I felt like I was gonna urinate on myself. I felt like I was gonna poop on myself. I was sweating. I was shaking. I was dizzy. I felt all those feelings at once. And all I could do was just lay on the floor. I didn't know what to do with myself. I laid on the floor. I was balled up on the floor for a long time. That pain that I felt, that feeling, it didn't go away. I was on the floor for a while. And he just watched me. He just watched me. He didn't, try to bring me a blanket. He didn't try to like help me stand up. He didn't do any of that. He just watched me. And then eventually he did say, "Are you okay?" or something like that. What he said, it's in the video. So while I was crouched, I was on the floor, balled up in the fetal position. And he asked me, was I okay? He was actually recording the whole time. I didn't know he was recording that. So I said no. And I was crying. You could hear it in my voice. I was crying. I said no. And then he still didn't do anything. And then eventually I asked him to get me some water and some ibuprofen. And I managed to take that water and ibuprofen. And eventually the pain calmed down enough for me to just crawl to the bed and immediately get in the bed. So when we talked about it the next day, I was like, whoa, like, that shit was crazy. Um, like, and then he was just like, are you good? I thought you were going to die on me, but you couldn't help me. And whole time I still didn't know that he recorded me, but I started bleeding the next morning. So that means like this is a few hours after that because that happened at like 3 or 4 in the morning. I started bleeding the next morning, and when I told him I was bleeding, he told me that that's the point. Like that's why he went hard like that. because he wanted me to bleed to make sure that I wasn't pregnant. So that let me know and confirmed for sure he knew what he was doing. He had every intention to do that on purpose. It wasn't the heat of the moment I started going hard thing. He had an intention, and his intention was to make me bleed.
And for him to double down on that, he ran into a guy that I was talking to that lived in his building. And he told the guy pretty much that he knew I was talking to him. And he was like, oh, by the way, she can't take D. No, it's not that I couldn't take it. It's that you were trying to injure me. And so when that guy repeated to me what he said, it really triggered me. I almost broke down crying in front of that guy because it's like this guy literally tried to harm me and he's pretty much gloating about it.
So as if that part wasn't bad enough, um, I didn't say anything because it's like, what can I do? Like we've been having consensual sex. So it's like, even though he had ill intentions when he did that, it was masked in like, oh, this is just one of our regular things. So yeah, when I saw that video, it it hurt me because not only did he record me without my permission, but you recorded me while I was in such a vulnerable state and while I was in a lot of pain and while I was balled up on the floor crying naked. And it's like, what were you going to do with this recording? Why would you record this? And his excuse was, I was scared and I didn't know what to do. Most people who are scared and they don't know what to do when someone is in pain like that, they call the ambulance. They call the ambulance. They go find help. Or they try to help in what way they can. But you just recorded me and watched me in pain. And then about a month later, I see myself on the internet. And so I don't know how long that video was up. He said it was only up for 5 minutes. I don't know how long, but I was thoroughly disgusted and I was re-traumatized. Again, I was traumatized. I cried a lot. I had a lot of anxiety. And when I reported it, it was hard for me to report it because there's a unit in the Navy that deals like with just sexual assault. Well, I would say a unit. It's like a program. It's a SAPR program. It's a program with victim advocates. So they usually help you in the process of reporting. But when I went to them, they were like, "Oh, well, that's like falls under revenge porn." Um, and when they asked me, um, "Were you raped?" They asked me that, but I couldn't really answer that question because I really wasn't sure what the fuck happened to me. I didn't really know what to put that in. I just know it was wrong. I know it wasn't right. So I just told them like, hey, this video, he recorded me when this happened and that happened. And they said they couldn't help me. So then I went to legal. Legal couldn't help me. Sorry if I keep looking to the side because I saw something moving. I thought it was a bug. There's a lot of bugs out here in Bali. But someone in legal did point me in the direction of the Criminal Investigation Department, CID. So they're kind of like, how there's NCIS, there's CID. So I went to CID. I gathered my videos, the text messages he sent me. Because not to mention that night, he also hacked into my Facebook because I stopped responding to him because I'm like, I'm done. Like, you recorded me. Like, I don't believe anything you say. Because he was trying to basically, like, calm things down and kind of like control the narrative to make sure I didn't do anything. Because what he did was very much criminal. But he hacked into my Facebook because there was a point in time when he had logged into my Facebook, where my Facebook was logged into his iPad or laptop or something, when I used to be hanging out at his house all the time. So he logged into my Facebook and he clicked on my messages that my friends that I sent to my best friend when I was saying like, this is what he did to me. She's like, I need to report him to the police. And I was like, I'm gonna report him. And so then he started threatening me. He screamed. He called me screaming, trying to put bass in his voice, trying to talk all over me, and like, cause he'd done that before. He screamed at me before. He's done that before. So he tried to put bass in his voice and was like, yeah, I'm gonna sue you. You know, like trying to like really like put bass in his voice. And y'all see that in his videos because even though I've blocked him all over the place, either somebody else reposted. Usually people are who are like making fun of him or whatever will post like how he acts and how he has all the smoke specifically for black women on these lives. But just for women in general, but specifically black women. But um, you know, he tried to put bass in his voice and was like yelling and like trying to threaten that he was gonna sue me. He was just like, you sent the video to your friend and my penis is in that video, so I'm gonna sue you. I'm like, a video that you recorded and posted on your fucking story on your own of you doing things to other people, recording them without their permission, you're gonna try to sue me. So I told him, I was like, you can yell all you want to, you put all the bass in your voice all you want to, but you don't scare me. You don't scare me at all. Because at that point I was done and I was tired and I had my evidence. So I didn't care. And also, my naked body already got posted on the internet. What more could you do to me? You already it's already out. You can't do anything else to me. So, you know, and I had a little bit more strength to like stand up to him because it's like I already been here before. I already had the people who try to threaten me when I was going to report something. I've been here, done that. I hate that I had that experience, but unfortunately, I've been there, done that. So it's like I already know the cycle. I know the cycle of abuse. I know the cycle of how they're going to try to threaten you. And then if threatening you doesn't work, then they might try to sweet talk you. And then they'll go back and forth. Whatever they need to do to try to manipulate and control your response. And so he did that. But then, you know, then he tried to take the approach of, I immediately went and blocked him on my Facebook. And I changed my password because I saw he was logged in. Then he tried to take the approach as like, you're really going to report me? You know, you're really going to do this to a black man? You did this to a black woman, several black women, but now you want to pull the you're going to do this to a black man card? I don't give a fuck if you're black, yellow, or purple. You violated me. Like, who gives a fuck what color you were born right now? But, yeah, so then he tried to like pull on my heartstrings and he was like, I care about you. We've talked about so many things. Like, I would never do this to you. You know me. I would never do this. I'm not the one that posted it. But he kept saying, I'm not the one that posted it. Like he's trying to overshadow the fact that he recorded it with no permission. He recorded it and kept it. He recorded me. He recorded that girl and God knows whoever else without permission. So he just kept ignoring that part and just kept saying, come on, I would never post this. You recorded it. You fucking recorded it. So he came to my house and kind of tried to plead with me one last time. And I just pretended like everything was good because I didn't want him to try to do anything outlandish. And I didn't want him to suspect that I was going to, go to the police. Because if I did, then he would try to do some kind of move to like make sure it doesn't happen. Because that's what happened to me the other times. And when he left, I put on my uniform and I went and I reported him. And it took some time. I kind of forgot about it because it hurt me so bad because I already wasn't even healed from the other situation with my ex. And even prior to him, I wasn't healed from just in general being in the military and how many times I've gotten sexually harassed, sexually assaulted, violated in some kind of way, groped, touched, slut shamed, all kinds of stuff. Like I'm not even like recovered from all of that. And now, even though I'm on my way out the door because I was already in the process of getting medically discharged from the military due to PTSD and depression and anxiety. So it's like the icing on the cake. I'm getting out. But I still gotta deal with this shit. So I did get out. and they were doing their investigation for a while. And I don't think he was aware. So I ran into him at some football thing or whatever. Actually, wait, no, this was right before I got out. But it was some Super Bowl thing. I ran into him there. And I saw him. I didn't say nothing. I didn't look. I just was hanging out with my friends. And he came up to me and he tried to dance on me. And my friends were immediately like, "Hey, turn around, turn around. He's trying to dance on you." And I was just like, get away from me. And I had to basically, let the investigators know like what happened. And I'm like, hey, like I need a restraining order, something like an MPO, military protective order. Um, so I'm not gonna lie to you. Some of the details after I reported it is gonna be a blur for me because the amount of anxiety that this triggered in me was so immense that every time the JAG is like the military lawyers and stuff. Every time they would call me to give me updates or to get updates, or hey, we need you to sign this document. We need you to meet us here. We need you to do this. Every time I even saw an email from them or a text or anything, my anxiety would get triggered so bad. I just couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it because I couldn't even face what happened prior to him recording that video. I couldn't wrap my head fully around that. And I'm not sure if I fully have. But when someone says that they did something like that because they wanted to make sure that you bled, I can't comprehend. I can't finish wrapping my head around that. Because what if you did more than just make me bleed? What if you did a lot worse than that? So it just gave me a lot of anxiety. I really didn't want to deal with it. I wanted to just take it and just throw it back somewhere. I didn't want to deal with it at all. But I reported it because I didn't want him to just walk away and just get off. The other girl, she didn't really, so it was also posted, she didn't really want to do with it. She did tell me because we talked on the phone, and when she told me her experience with him, it was like we had similarities. Like, oh, he yelled at you like a crazy person too, and he did this and that. Yeah, it was like similar stuff. So it kind of helped both of us confirm, like, okay, yeah, this dude was like there was some similar things that we went through. But she said she also had a history of like sexual assault in the military. And the only reason I mentioned this, I definitely will not say her name, but I also see that other women have been posting and coming forward and TikTok and all these other places. This guy is a predator and they prey on certain types of people. So once you've gone through all this type of stuff, right? If you're not fully healed, you have to be extra careful. Like I had to be extra careful. I had to go out of the way, maybe more than the average person, to make sure that my mindset is right when I meet a guy and that I'm coming from the right headspace. Because when you've been through stuff like that, you tend to end up back in the arms of a predator again. And look at that girl. She had a history of sexual assault, and I believe she said that maybe that's part of the reason why she got out. Um, and look, she ends up dealing with him, a guy that ends up posting her on the internet. Same with me. Look what happened. So yeah, it was very rough to deal with. And when I got out, they were still like going through with the case. They wanted to do a court martial. They wanted me to like show up and testify, and I couldn't. I couldn't do it. I couldn't because I already dealt with so much. I was hanging by a thread. By a thread prior to getting out of the military. I was hanging by a thread mentally. There were so many times that I wanted to just end my life. There were times where I couldn't go on. There were times where I couldn't even leave my house, where I would just sit in the dark room and cry all the time. There are days where I laid in the same spot in bed for 3 days straight, didn't even get up to pee, didn't eat, didn't drink water, nothing. And I just couldn't go on there, and I didn't even want to see this guy's face. I didn't even want to be around him. That alone triggered so much anxiety in me. I'm just like, I can't deal with this. I just can't deal with this. Like, I'm about to leave the country. I'm not trying to come back for this. I'm trying to move on. I'm trying to forget about it. So I left, and they continued whatever they had to do for the case. I do know that he got kicked out. I don't think they were able to get him on criminal charges on the civilian side. Probably because I didn't testify. But I couldn't sit there because, especially when the judge was telling me, like, hey, like, when you go up there, they're going to try to, like, pull you apart. They're going to try to trigger you, but you just have to be strong. I'm like, I just couldn't do that one more time, because every time something has happened to me and I've reported it, it's like, even though this whole predator did something to me, somehow it gets flipped around on me every single time. It gets flipped around on me, and it's like I'm on trial, even though somebody violated me. Now I'm on trial, like as if I deserved to get violated. Nobody deserves that. I didn't ask to be recorded. I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for that shit. I didn't ask for anything that happened that night. So, yeah. But I just wanted to tell my own story, because I know I did respond to a couple of comments on some YouTube videos. It was Paris Milan. She had a video, and I responded because seeing his face just pissed me off, that this guy is just arrogantly just out here just living his fucking life like he's not going around doing this shit to women. It just pissed me off to see his fucking face and see that he's just out here just like, oh, look at me, I'm just a great fucking guy. No, the fuck you're not. So I responded. I wrote a comment, and I said this guy did some vile things to me. So I don't know if maybe that comment is how people started posting my name on TikTok. I didn't say what he did. But I don't know, because once you report a case and it goes court martial and stuff, like, that information is out there. It's not private anymore. So I don't know if people dug that up and looked into his stuff. I heard that people were like digging up and looking to his evals and seeing that he got kicked out and stuff like that. So maybe that's also how people have found out too. I'm not really sure, but I just wanted to tell my own story, so I can feel like I have some ounce of control, because a lot of my control was taken away from me. So this is me regaining my power back. This is me telling my story and what happened to me. And it might not do much, but I hope it helps someone else. I hope it gives someone else the courage to speak up if something happens to you. Be smart. If you end up in an abusive relationship, don't tell your abuser what you're going to do, but gather the evidence that you need, because that's the key to being able to successfully report them. Because if you don't have any evidence, unfortunately, people just won't believe you. So gather the evidence that you need. But also, like, I mean, if you're being quiet because you just don't want to talk about it, of course, like, you have a right to not say anything, but don't let these people scare you into hiding. Like, you have every right to speak up. You have every right to report them, and you don't deserve people violating you. And that's all I really got to say. I don't really want to end this on like such a sad note. I'm proud of myself that I didn't cry as much as I thought I would, because I have ugly cried about this a lot. But I will say this, after him, I kind of dated some more eventually, but I ended up kind of in another toxic situation again because a lot of people who are victims of abuse or whatever, they tend to it's like you're trying to heal a wound with a knife. Like you just keep on like going after like you keep ending up in situations because you're like you feel like maybe like being with this person is gonna like change things, is gonna be different. But what really needs to change is you. Not saying something is wrong with you, but what needs to change is like you just need to heal on your own. You need to do whatever it takes to help you heal. And so that's what I've been doing. And I have been single. I have been alone for a while. And at first I was like, oh, I hate it here. I'm single. Ugh. But um, I started to really like enjoy it because I was really working on healing. I've been healing physically from knee surgery. I've been healing emotionally. Um, and I've just been doing what I want to do when I feel like doing it. And I did quit my job. I am taking a break. I'm decompressing right now. Um, and Bali is a great place to decompress. So that's what I'm doing. And I just I just want to keep working on getting into a better place. And I kind of started back dating recently again, but I'm taking it real slow and I'm doing it on my own terms. And I'm not jumping into anything at all because I don't want to end up back where I was. I don't want to end up being hurt like that again. So I'm just being very careful, but still open and still positive about meeting the right person in the future. But, anyways, that is my truth. And please don't come in these comments and try to like be like mean or whatever, or try to say like, oh, you deserved it or something like that. That's really not cool. Don't do that, y'all. Like, because I straight got evidence. So this is not, I'm not even making it up. And some people, even for the people who don't have evidence of what happened, even then, sometimes people don't get to record or take screen records and screenshots. Sometimes you're not even in your right mind. So y'all need to be careful when y'all sit here and try to blame victims and stuff. Y'all don't know what these people went through. Okay, I'm gonna go for real this time. Bye, y'all.